Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a while since I put out a video, but now that we're in gifting season, there's no war, and balance changes are probably not going to happen for the next few weeks, at least until the new promo comes out. I'm gonna try to put out a couple more videos soon. I've already been preparing a lot of cool boss content, some of which is quite mind-boggling if I say so myself, and also something special that I've been meaning to release for a while now. It's just a matter of editing and putting it all together now, so definitely stay tuned for that. Today I am kicking it off with a brand new guide on beating Legendary and Nightmare Nightwraith, a topic that is evidently still in high demand. As we should all know, November 11th is Nightwraith's birthday, which is where 1x6 got its name, and in 2018 Nightwraith released the Bull Bounty mission chain. It comes back every year, but unlike other seasonal content, the decision to bring it back is manual. For the past 2 years, it's come back on the first week of November, and you'll see an announcement about that in the design notes. You can find more complete information on the individual missions on the EpicDuel wiki, which, by the way, I am now part of the team once again, helping to keep the information up to date. But here, I've laid out the basic objectives and rewards. Near the end, you see that you have to beat Legendary Nightwraith and then the Nightmare version. So the real prize here is Nightwraith's iconic armor, and also the Nightwraith Annihilator achievement. The armor is Nightwraith's personal art piece that he designed exclusively for his character over a decade ago, so it really is a special prize. Now, a lot of you watching this video might be new or returning players that are not up to date with legendary bosses, or you may simply have missed your chance to do these missions in the last 2 years. That's actually understandable because when Legendary Nightwraith first came out in 2018, he was actually fairly challenging and required at least a few ranks, and in 2019 the mission came back right at the time that Cyber Hunter was stripped of defense matrix, which made him nearly impossible to beat. They did make the change to Armored Roots before the missions went away, but Armored Roots is a seasonal core that most people didn't have at the time. This year is completely different. Some of the recent cores and balance changes have been very favorable towards boss fighting, and we are now in a period where bosses are the easiest they've been in the history of the game. This is the best chance for anyone, new or old, to beat bosses, and I'm going to try to show you why. So as you can see here, I've got my little level 35 guy here with Nightwraith's armor. I've actually managed to beat Nightwraith twice on this guy. And well, he wasn't even the hardest boss that I've beaten. I've managed to beat every boss except Endless Matrix, Stage, God of War, Darkon, which are basically the same level of difficulty, Kaden, and Delta Vault. Legendary Titan is actually harder than Nightwraith, and I believe Deuce and Battle are now even harder because of the Pulse Punch change, and the fact that they have higher base energy. I hate to say it, but at this point, if you're struggling with legendary bosses at a low rank as a 40, I can't really feel any sympathy for you when level 35 is vastly more disadvantaged than even a rank 140. Alright, so this is obviously a long video, but that's because I've included multiple battles depending on your skill level and also some record battles that I wouldn't ever recommend imitating, but should be entertaining for people who are into that stuff. What you want to watch is up to you, but here's a quick guide for Legendary Nightwraith, clarifying the current status of each class in terms of what's recommended. Tactical Mercenary is by far the best class for safe playing, where you're pushing the limits of what's possible and just trying to win once. This is true for any boss now, Tactical Mercenary being the best. Crit heal is basically mandatory for this class. If you don't have crit heal primary, I do recommend the armor version over any other armor core. Roots is not necessary for a high rank, but is purely beneficial. For general purposes, use Rex to speed up the process so you don't have to survive as long, but Tactical Shark Drone can also be used for the small amount of health it gives every loop. On the 35, I actually won the first time using the Shark Drone, which took almost 800 rounds. and the second time using Rex in less than 200 rounds. Cyber Hunter is a fine class, but a far cry from Tactical Mercenary. Tech Mages should also do the job easily, but is a worse version of Tactical. Blood Mage is obviously fast, but there's just no reason to use it at all right now because the other classes can walk in with a 100% win rate if you just want to beat it once. Of course, it is well within reason to use Bounty Hunter and Mercenary to win if you have Sea King Spirit, but there's no reason that you'd want to go through that route unless you can change class. For max rank, it's gotten to the point where roots are simply unnecessary because Tactical Mercenary is just such a godly boss fighting class now. Of course, anybody serious about beating bosses for the first time would want to use roots, so skip to the next battle if that's you. Since I wouldn't actually ever not recommend using roots if you can, here's just one battle showing the proper way to do a boss fight with roots. Alright, we've come to the battle that's probably what most people are interested in seeing. I can tell you, when you're level 35 and really pushing the limits of what's possible, it really does force you to learn the precise setup that will really get you that much needed edge for every boss. So a lot of trial and error went into what I've accomplished on this guide. For Nightwraith, I originally used level 5 heal so that I could afford energy heal. At level 35, you are short on skill points and your heal is a lot worse than a level 40 for the same energy cost. So it's not possible to use energy shield unless you do this. I also used Shark's Drone to gain some extra health and help with the energy problem. However, with this setup, the danger really begins after you drain him because of the cheap shot at 120 energy. And because it takes 800 rounds to win, it's actually quite risky. The second time I beat him, I used Rex with max heal and no energy shield. And with that strategy, I was able to fool my way through it quickly and was able to get him into heal range before draining. The amount of luck it takes to drain him completely without Rex is almost as much as the amount of luck it would take to get him into heal range with Rex. So it's possible that the latter is the more effective method overall. However, here I'm showing the tactical drone side. The post drain can get really nasty here. Immediately after draining, you have to stall until you can find a way to put on Energy Shield on the right turn in the loop to intercept both his Augs and gun. If you use Energy Shield at the wrong time, you'll forever be out of sync unless you skip an entire loop to get it back on track. Of course, the tricky part here is Cheap Shot, which is not only devastating in terms of damage, but can break the Energy Shield lock if he uses it on a turn that is scheduled to use Augs. Alright, so on to Nightmare Nightwraith. The Nightmare versions of Nightwraith, Charfade, and Dage are very similar ally bosses, so these strategies are exactly what I'd recommend for those bosses as well. For a guaranteed win rate, there's no question asked, in my opinion, that Tactical Mercenary and Blood Mage will be the most effective method. It's easy to see why when you try it, and one reason is because Tactical Mercenary can actually just solo Nightmare Nightwraith, given that he's just a slightly harder version of the Legendary. In fact, ally bosses in general are just so easy now, with cores like Sea Kings and Rex, that you can really use anything to beat any of them with the right setup. But for speed, the best combo now does seem to be Dex Blood Mage plus a high-tech Bounty Hunter with Smokescreen, which I had previously demonstrated in my Blood Mage Total Conquest video from a few months ago. Here I was just pushing the limits for how fast I could possibly do it. The main difficulty is that Nightmare Nightwraith has a colossal amount of dex, so the blocks are really going to get you if you're trying to go for speed. It just so happened that he did Fire Rain right after I used Despair Meld, which really killed my defense, so it did a lot of damage and he ended up switching targets. So this is sort of a disgusting fight, but of all the attempts I did, this still ended up being the fastest, so it is what it is. If you want to win no matter what, with no ranks or gear or whatever, look no further than the high health Tactical Mercenary and Blood Mage setup. It's what I recommend for Charfade and Dage. as well, and there's really no reason to question it, given that Tactical Mercenary is capable of soloing with this build. Okay, here's just showing that you can use the same build as you would for Legendary Nightwraith and for the safe method for Nightmare to solo him. If you think this is crazy, you might be in for a surprise for what I have in store in the next few videos, so please stay tuned and thanks for watching.